The views expressed on the following program are not necessarily those of WPSL, however. After all, we've encouraged you since day number one to like and share all this on your favorite social media and with all your friends and neighbors because Rudy's Health Insurance and Martin County Roofing team up together to bring you each week at this time the African American Scene, hosted by the one and only Rudy Howard.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Always glad to be with you here on a Wednesday night. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas day, as I did. I had an opportunity to spend time with my 5 grandkids and my son and his wife and my aunt and uncle and my sister and my brother-in-law. And it was a really, really, really nice day. I think they would say the same. Well, we're coming to the close of the year, 2023. And I wanted to talk about some of the issues that are of concern for us throughout this year. And I am going to ultimately, at the end, provide you my prescription for what I think is the best way to fix some of those things. Of course, you don't have to listen to me, but I'm going to offer up my prescription for how to fix it. And I think some things you will find you will have strenuous objections to, but that's okay because they're my opinions about what I think is necessary to make us a more united country. I base most of this on an article, June 21st, 2023, which was a Pew Research Center poll. Now, those of you that are politically astute know Pew Research is the gold standard for polls. They surveyed 5,115 people. One of the things, and there's a series of charts here, which I'm going to read the basic information from, and I welcome your input, and that phone number is 340-1590. Economic policy. Democrats and GOP have similar concerns, but not the same concerns. On economic policy, the Democratic Party is concerned about that to a degree of 30%. The Republican Party, 42%. Crime policy for Democrats, 30%. For Republicans, 31%. So there's a 1-point difference when it comes to crime. I know that's going to surprise some of my Republican friends. Immigration policy, the Democratic concern on immigration is 11%, and the Republican concern is 25%. Policies that deal with the budget deficit are 28% Democrats, 36% Republicans. Now, I don't want you to mistake that because, yes, the Republicans have a greater concern on deficit, but the Democrats are not unconcerned about deficit. It's just not high up on their priority list. Foreign policy. Democrats 33%, Republicans 37%. Gun policy, now this is going to really surprise you. 37% Democrats, 36% Republicans. Basically a tie, and something that I have been telling you, and you've heard from many people, talking heads, that both Democrats and Republicans have a concern about our democratic policy, our gun policy. Education policy, Democrats 37%, Republicans 33%. Policies affecting LGBT people, Democrats 37%, Republicans 29%. Policies addressing race, and this is not going to shock you, 39% Democrats, 29% Republicans. Healthcare policy, as you know, one of my big bones of contention, Democrats 39%, Republicans 27%. Abortion, I don't even need to read it. You know, that's a big slant toward Democrats versus Republicans, 43 to 31. Climate change, another big differential. Democrats 41 and Republicans 27. You know, I've had so many debates with conservative associates about climate change, and they are convinced it is some kind of calculated conspiracy, the whole climate change issue. But the last time I had this debate, I asked my conservative associate, I said, well, why are automobile companies and oil companies investing so heavily in the elimination of fossil fuels? If, as you say, there are no climate issues. Well, we know there are climate issues. No matter, there's some things that I don't understand, and this is another one. You have almost a whole world telling you that climate is a problem, yet my conservative friends seem to feel it's some kind of creation that Democrats have gendered up just to spend money. The other thing that I found very interesting about this Pew poll is it separates concerns by age group. Violent crime seems not to be a concern on ages 18 to 29. 43% of people 30 to 49 are concerned about violent crime, and 65 plus people, 75% are concerned about violent crime. Well, certainly that makes sense. Older people are more vulnerable to violent crime than younger folks. The federal budget deficit, again, little to no concern by 18 to 29, and there is a 39% concern of 30 to 49, And from 59 to 64, there's a 64% concern about budget deficit. Drug addiction, not surprising, 18 to 29, does not seem to register concern. 30 to 49, 46%. And 50 to 64, 64%. International terrorism. Here's the first big registration for young folks. 18 to 29, 22% are concerned about international terrorism, and 30 to 49, only 33% are concerned, and 43% 50 to 64. The ability of Dems and Republicans to work together. The young folks, there is no registration, but in the 30 to 49, there is a concern of 55%, and 50 to 64, 72%. Interesting. I think that's one of the major issues of our time. Gun violence, that is in the realm of the 30 to 49 and the 50 to 64. That's where the biggest registration about gun violence. Domestic terrorism. Again, young folks show up. 26% of young folks are concerned about domestic terrorism. That 30 to 49 group is concerned to about 40%. Condition of the roads and bridges. Again, young folks show up here, 27%. And the 30 to 49 group shows up at 36%. Inflation. This is an interesting one. The primary register on inflation was 50 to 44. That was the largest percent of people concerned about inflation. Well, that certainly makes some sense. Racism, a very controversial subject these days. The young people have the biggest percentage there, 34%. The quality of public education, that registers big numbers with the 30 to 49. They are the ones most concerned about that. Affordability of health care, 50 to 64, 59% of those in that category have a concern about health care. Climate change, that group tends to be in that 30 to 49 bracket. And there's like 45% are concerned there. And unemployment, the young people appear again about 18% of them concerned about that. And then in the 30 to 49 group, we have about 21% concern there. So I thought that was kind of fascinating that they gave a breakdown of concerns by age group. And I don't think any of that is too shocking that the concerns fall where they do by age group. Then the other thing that they did was they measured Biden's approval rating. The majority of Americans disapprove of President Biden, 62%. 35% approve of President Biden. And I just would have to tell you, that's one of those issues. And I ran into somebody that's a regular listener on the show, and he was willing to beat me up about Biden. I just didn't have the time to listen to everything he had to say. But if you go out and take a look at what has happened under this Biden administration, the GDP is fairly strong. Gas prices have come down. Inflation has come down. And yet people are strongly disapproval of him. The only thing that I can possibly say is the immigration policy. Well, and that is not his alone to deal with. That has been a long-standing problem. And some of you will forget, under President Obama, he had an immigration policy that was bipartisan, that had been delivered to the House, and they would not allow a vote. So it never got passed, and it's been an ongoing issue. Now, I would just tell you that most Democrats that I know consider it an issue that warrants some concern and one that needs to be dealt with. Not in the same harsh manner as many of my Republican friends would have us do, but it is an issue that warrants some concern and consideration. Black adults were 51% approval of Biden. 67% of white adults disapprove of Biden. The only thing I can say to you is it would seem to me that the predominant issue when it comes to Biden is they don't like his age, which I can at least say that has some plausible concern. But if that's your concern, Trump's only 3 years younger than Biden, and it seems not to be a problem for you with Trump. What's a problem with you for Biden? Mitch McConnell is almost a fossil, yet I don't hear many concerns about Mitch McConnell's age, and he's had a couple of incidents up close and personal when speaking out in public. But that's pretty much the way the Pew Research poll laid out the concerns of most Americans. There was some other stuff. I didn't want to get into all the nitty-gritties of everything, but you get a pretty good idea of what Americans are concerned about as we're moving into 2024. I would tell you, let me add to that list. And Jay, I'm gonna be with you in 1 second. I want to add to that list. I have a very deep concern as we end 2023 about the death of Palestinian civilians over in Israel. And I think that should warrant the concern of every American. And we got Jay on line one. Yes, Jay.
Okay, how you doing, Rudy? If I don't talk to you, Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. Same to you.
And you and the family. You were talking about the economy, and I can't understand about Biden. He's doing everything. I mean, he's doing more than the last 3 or 4 presidents we had.
Yep.
With the economy, with the infrastructure bill, which the media doesn't talk about. I watch some of the major media, and they always complaining, or they'll have somebody on there as a guest, like DeSantis, or this other guy, this Indian guy that's running for president, that he's like an extremist, a guy that wants to bring down the United States. But he was on CNN for a whole hour asking questions. I just couldn't figure out. You would figure they would bring, explain to the American people the benefits that they don't, some states see it already with the infrastructure bill. Like the governor of the one that won his seat in, I'm trying to
Kentucky.
Not Ohio.
Kentucky.
Anyway, it was just the last election. They had like a midterm election, and the governor got his seat back, and he was a Democrat in Kentucky.
Yeah,
he's in Kentucky, and he's the governor of the state of Kentucky, and he got reelected. And his thing was, he said he was out there watching them build a bridge in parts of Kentucky. In Kentucky, one part of Kentucky that was part of the infrastructure bill that Biden started all around the country to fix bridges and roads and create jobs, construction jobs for these guys. Thousands and thousands of jobs have been created, but the media doesn't talk about all that stuff. All they talk about is the fight between the Republicans and Democrats, and about Biden being he's going to be have to go to court because he's been brought up on charges by the Republican Party. So it goes on, and Biden hasn't done anything illegal. And you're talking about somebody that broke a lot of laws in this country, and they trying to figure out if he's going to be able to serve time because he was a president. And I read the 14th Amendment in the 3rd chapter. It said that if you're not 35 or older, you can't be president. If you're a foreigner, you cannot be president. And if you participated in an insurrection, you're eliminated from any government post. You can't run for any government office. That's what it said, word for word.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the media can't figure it out. Some of these judges can't figure it. The Supreme Court don't want to touch it. Alito and Thomas done ripped off this government with taking money from the Federalist Society, from Leonard Leo for years. There's no ethics in the Supreme Court. And if it gets to the Supreme Court, they're going to go against the Constitution. They're going to go against the Constitution. What do you think about that, Rudy?
Well, I think they're kind of trapped because the whole theory of conservatism is not to make laws, is to interpret and uphold the existing laws. Mm-hmm. And the 14th Amendment, I've read it like you have. It's pretty clear that if you are guilty of an insurrection against the country, you're not eligible for to run for president. The only escape ramp for them is if they say that he has not actually been accused legally of an insurrection. I think that's coming, but I think that's their escape ramp for not upholding the 14th Amendment.
It just don't sound right, because I think Jack Smith is doing a good job.
He's doing a
That's
terrific
why
job.
he Senate it. He wants the Supreme Court to do it right now. He wants them to, because I don't see how they can get around it. If you're going to follow the rules on the other aspects of that, of the 14th Amendment, about other folks, that can't run for federal office. What's in the street? Somebody that's trying to tear down or bring down this country would seem like that would be the most important one.
Well, I agree with you, but I'm just saying I think the off ramp there is he hasn't officially been charged and it has been adjudicated that he was guilty of insurrection. I think anybody who saw what happened and his behavior, it's pretty hard to say that he's not guilty of an insurrection, but I do think that might be the one off ramp that they might have, but I listen. I can be a little naive, and I want to believe that when faced with the information, the Supreme Court will do the right thing.
You think so?
I want to believe
I
that.
don't have that much confidence in them from what I see them dancing. They don't even want to come to the Senate because of the Senate wanted to ask questions about how are they taking money from these billionaires, and like from the Federal Society, taking money, Alito and Thomas, not letting anybody know about it, because they figure they don't have to let anybody know about it because they don't want the backlash. Seems like they're not under any rules or regulations, and they refuse to go to the Senate for the Senate to question them and ask them questions about it. And even the guy that's leading the Senate, he don't want to go there to see about making rules so the Supreme Court will have the same rules as every other court judge in this country. So,
I think
and all the rest of them have rules and regulations.
And Jay, I think that's so bizarre. All the other courts have laws that govern their behavior, except for the Supreme Court. I listen, that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. And I think that what Clarence Thomas has done is absolutely horrific. And it has cast a stain on the Supreme Court. And if I was Roberts, I'd be telling Thomas that he needs to resign, because he needs to get him off of that Supreme Court to help try to restore some luster and some integrity back into the Supreme Court. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, you got a point there. He needs to, he seems like he's very arrogant. I think he thinks he's above it, and he thinks he can do whatever he wants, and it's kind of sad. And the saddest part about the whole thing is that Clarence Thomas is from the town where I have a lot of my relatives in Savannah, Georgia, Pinpoint, Georgia. He grew up there, and a lot of my relatives knows him and his family. But the thing is that they don't even want to talk about him when I go down there to visit, because they're ashamed of him.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm not going to hold you up too long. I just wanted to bring that out, give my opinion on what I think is going on around here.
Well, thank you, sir. Your opinion is always welcome.
Anytime.
Okay.
And I have a nice one.
Okay, you too. I'm going to give you the definition of a social issue, then we're going to take a break. And again, that phone number is 340-1590. A social issue is a problem that affects many people within a society. It is a group of common problems in present-day society and ones that many people strive to solve. It is often the consequence of factors extending beyond the individual's control. Social issues are the source of conflicting opinions on the grounds of what is perceived as morally correct or incorrect personal life or interpersonal social life decisions. Social issues are distinguished from economic issues. However, some issues, such as immigration, have both social and economic aspects. Some issues do not fall into either category, such as warfare. So think about that. And I would love to have your opinion about social issues because that seems to be a driving force in the conservatives regarding that issue. And we're going to take a break. And that number again is 340-1590. That's 340-1590.
At Martin County Roofing, they build trust with quality work. With over 20 years of experience, they handle repairs, restoration, and new roofs for residential and commercial properties. Serving the entire Treasure Coast area, they're fully licensed, bonded, and insured, specializing in tile, metal, shingle, or flat roofs. Let them protect what matters most to you. Contact Martin County Roofing for a free estimate at www.martincountyroofing.com.
Hi, this is Rudy Howard, your independent insurance agent. This means I represent multiple companies which will allow me to match you with the best company for your needs. I am now officially Rudy's Health Insurance, LLC. So, if you need a Medicare plan or a health plan, call me. That number is 475-8856 or my Facebook page, Rudy's Health Insurance. I am ready to serve you.
This is WPSL Port St. Lucie, the talk of the Treasure Coast.
We now return to the African American scene. Once again, here's your host, the one and only Rudy Howard.
There's several aspects of social issues. And I want to touch on some that are having an effect on us today. Social disorganization. Neighborhoods that tend to have high dropout rates and low probability of attending college. Those are neighborhoods that have been victimized by social disorganization. Mind you, that's not an excuse, that's a reality. Social disorganization in some poor neighborhoods is a reality. Age discrimination, that's still an issue today. I think less so than in the past, but people who are not allowed older people into higher positions. Older people are sometimes discriminated when it comes to obtaining higher positions within a company. And that's, we would hope that that's going away, but older people have so much wisdom and experience that can be tapped into to help make an organization successful. And we still have the ongoing issue of social inequity. And that has to do with age, gender, disability, and race. Social inequality is an ongoing issue. I would be not completely candid to say that there has not been any progress, but there's still issues out there that really need to be dealt with. Education and public schools. Another big social issue. And it is a key factor in achieving success in our society, a good education. So that is really an important element for all of our kids to be successful. And I can't imagine why there would be any reticence about trying to help young people be successful, not necessarily college, it could be trade school, but there should be a willingness to invest in young people to help make them successful. It benefits us all. Environmental racism is a social issue. Poor communities tend to have problematic environmental issues. If you look at some of the poor communities across this country, they frequently have waste dumps and sewage processing plants within the confines of their community, which can lead to all kinds of health problems. Obesity. A serious issue. One that we kind of overlook. But obesity is a very serious issue. 35.7% of adults are classified as obese. 35.7%. That's over a third of our population is classified as obese. One of the things that is a contributing factor is the marketing of unhealthy foods to our children. Now, it's not all the children's fault. Unfortunately, when there's two parents working, oftentimes McDonald's is an easy way out, and the children are so oriented to that from an early age. I can tell you that my grandkids, and I got 5 grandkids, my 2 granddaughters who are 3 and 4 have been McDonald's oriented for the last couple years, and they're just little kids. And I can tell you, if my sister's listening, she'll tell you the same thing. There was not that many fast food places, especially when we lived in Philadelphia. When we moved to New Jersey, there were more, but when my mother fixed a meal, that was it. If you didn't eat that, you'd just be hungry. There was no making second meals or allowing you to have a bowl of cereal for dinner. That's just not something that was allowed. Now, I recognize that to do that is going to be a bone of contention among the kids and create some friction that you may feel is unnecessary. But in the long run, it will be beneficial to their health as kids. Racism and social inequality. Conservatives have, for the last 5 or 6 years, tried to convince Black people that racism is not an impediment to their success. And I would say they've had some success with that because you have some Black people out here making the same statement and ignoring some of the issues that do affect the Black and brown community. So, but here's the question I want you to ponder. If racism is not an issue and everyone has an equal chance to succeed, why this movement to restrict minority voting rights? We had 2 cases this past year, Alabama and North Carolina, where the conservative Supreme Court said those voting districts were not right and were designed to punish the effective vote for Black people in that state. So if there is no longer a race issue, why? Why is that being done? Gamesmanship? You want to say it's gamesmanship? I don't see it that way. You are stomping on the rights that people died to secure. So now here's my prescription for how we overcome some of these difficulties. One of my repeated solutions, get to know somebody different than yourself. If you've been listening to me for any length of time, I bet you I have given that prescription at least 20 times. And I'm going to tell you why it's so important. When I was at a New York brokerage firm and we were going away on a corporate trip to Las Vegas, and I was with the partners of the firm, a guy came up to me and said, "You know, you're very unusual." I said, "Well, why is that?" He said, "You're a fiercely proud Black man, but you like everybody." At first, I got really pissed off about that, and I just walked away. Then I had a chance to think about it, and I realized in his mind, he had concluded if you were proud to be Black, that meant you didn't like anybody else. But his exposure to me made him change his mind about Black people because he met a Black man who was proud to be Black, but was equally able to get along with all people. That's why I'm always telling you about get to know somebody that's different than you, because it could have an effect on your own thinking. Another issue we have to solve is stop peddling conspiracy theories. Conspiracy theories have been harmful to our society. We have to stop that. And in many cases, if you just stop and think about what it is you've been told, the theory will blow up right in front of your face because it makes no sense. But if you're inclined to want to believe that because comes from your tribe, then you will. But in some cases, it's just so. I have said to someone, now stop and think of what you just told me. Just stop and think about it for a second. And when you do, you realize it made no sense. You have to get information outside of your silo. You know, if all the information that you receive comes from people who all think like you and are the only people you surround yourself with, then you don't have a full breadth of information that would allow you to come to some conclusions. That requires effort on your part. Now, I've had to discontinue some relationships with conservatives because they were just so totally unreasonable. I want you to check social media posts before you pass them on. I've had some conservatives give me information that was so blatantly untrue. I saw it like in 30 seconds. I could see it was in some cases it was photoshopped. And yet someone took the time to pass that on as truth. We have to be concerned about all. I'm going to repeat this. We have to be concerned about all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or national origin. That is a requirement. And if you are, that will have an impact on your thinking. I think we have to develop some solutions to the immigration issue. That's an issue that needs to be resolved. There's just no doubt about it. And this idea that every Democrat wants open borders is just simply not true. And we're coming to the end of the hour so quick. I'm going to try to rush through these last few things. We need to respect our legal system. It is there to protect us. I have certainly had some concerns about how the legal system operates, but over my lifetime, I would have to say, I can't imagine living a life where the legal system was not there to help protect me. Eliminate the Electoral College. I know that's wishful thinking, but I really think the Electoral College is a big source of our conflict. Facts matter. I don't know when we've got to the point where facts don't matter, but facts do matter. People should have the final say so about the issues that affect us. Even if you don't like them, if the vast majority, and there's a thought by many conservatives, the majority is not important, but yeah, it is. And then I'm going to leave you with this other thought. The 10 Commandments, number 9 of the 10 Commandments says, we shall not bear false witness against our neighbor. Did you hear that? I'm going to repeat it. Commandment number 9. We shall not bear false witness against our neighbor. Well, I had to speed through this last part of my solutions. I hope, as usual, that as you were listening, I gave you some food for thought. And I hope that you will take some of my suggestions and use them wisely to help give you a different frame of reference for how you see America and what you can do to help make America a better place. Well, folks, I'd like to thank you for tuning to the African American Scene. I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve. And I'm wishing you blessings for 2024. And thank you for tuning in. And I will see you next Wednesday right here for the African American Scene. God bless.
With archives on YouTube under WPSL TV over there on YouTube. The African American Scene, Wednesday evenings in the 6 p.m. hour on WPSL Port St. Lucie. It's the talk of the Treasure Coast and webcaster to the world on Google Home, Alexa, and of course the TuneIn app on your smartphone. This is WPSL Port St. Lucie.